if you're in a market for an Android phone and you want a flagship, but obviously don't want to shell out $800 or even $1,000 for that matter, these two phones right here are probably your best bet. The Samsung Galaxy S22 and the Google Pixel 6. Both phones that I got to review recently, which I'll link down below. But let's go ahead and figure out what's the better phone for you. And to not make this video super boring, I'm only really going to cover a few things in a super concise, straight to the point fashion. I'm talking hardware and software, design, and the cameras. So let's kick things off with its design. So the S22 is a much smaller phone when compared to the Pixel 6, and I actually said this in my review that it might be the perfect size for almost everyone. The Pixel 6 is a lot taller and maybe a tad bit wider too, with rounded off edges that curve from the sides to the back of the phone and feels like most Android flagships nowadays. But the S22 features flat sides and a much smaller footprint, which I'm a fan of, but it is a slightly thicker phone, not by much, but definitely thicker. And in terms of in-hand feel and comfortability, the S22 wins here. I just think it's a way better phone to use one-handed, reachability is great, and the flat sides definitely help holding the phone one-handed. Now, don't get me wrong, both phones in my opinion look really good, but from afar, the Pixel 6 actually has a more unique look to it. Samsung's design on the S22 looks a lot like the S21, which is kind of dated at this point, whereas the Pixel 6 features this horizontal camera bar, which makes the phone look better in my opinion. Both phones do have multiple color options to choose from, which is nice, but if you're looking for more color options, you can obviously check out channel sponsor Dbrand and slap a skin on either one and make it more unique. They have the new leather skins or teardown skins if you want the most unique look of them all, or if you're more of a case person, you can always throw their grip case for the best protection. Either ways, if you want to pick up a skin or a case from Dbrand, check out the first link below or go to dbrand.com/heymarkel. Now, when it comes to performance, this is where it's kind of different, but sort of similar at the same time. So the Galaxy S22 is using Qualcomm's latest processor, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, whereas Google went the Apple route and designed their own SoC called Google Tensor. Now, Google Tensor is kind of a mix of fast yet efficient. Now, to make this all pretty simple to explain, if you're a mobile gamer or need a really powerful processor that just keeps on pushing, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 is the better choice here. But if you want a well-balanced processor that can get you through the day and can still power most apps and still play some games, then Google Tensor is a good choice. But to be quite honest, I use both phones and the performance difference between the two is probably only a 10% difference in real-world usage. I don't think you, an everyday consumer, is going to notice that huge of a difference. Even the 120Hz on the S22 versus the 90Hz on the Pixel 6 is pretty negligible for most consumers. Now, don't get me wrong, both are really fast and smooth when it comes to just scrolling through social or switching between apps. Now, the speakers I think are also super important to note here in this section because we're talking about the phone's hardware. Now, I'm not going to make this too long, but I figured it's worth noting for this comparison that the Pixel 6 definitely sounds better than the S22. The S22 sounds a little bit louder but lacks bass and that fullness that you're getting from the Pixel 6. So if you like listening to music or just watching videos on your phone, you're going to enjoy doing that on the Pixel 6 versus the S22. Now, battery life is going to be about the same depending on what you do with your phones and what settings are enabled or disabled. Now, both my phones were set to Full HD Plus at the highest refresh rate possible, so the 120Hz on the S22 and 90Hz on the Pixel 6. And in my testing, maybe the Pixel 6 lasted about an hour or an hour and a half longer than the S22. It's a pretty negligible difference, but Samsung does feature a more extreme battery saving feature, which limits the CPU, turns on dark mode, simplifies your home screen to selected apps, and drops the refresh rate down to 60 Hz. Now, the Pixel does have something similar, but it's just not that extreme. Now, when it comes to its software, I really love the super vanilla experience you get with Pixel phones. It's probably the closest thing you can get to an iPhone, but on Android. And I'll let you interpret that however you want, but it's true though. Pixel phones are the iPhones of Android. But anyways, Samsung out of the box offers more customizations and very niche software features that you probably won't be using months after you've used the phone. It'll probably be cool in like the first few weeks, but you'll eventually forget about it. Okay, now let's talk about the cameras on these phones. I've always said it in my videos, any Android review that I do, there's just nothing like pixel photography. I really do believe that Pixel phones have the best looking photos out of a smartphone till this day. There's just something about photo processing that Google does on their Pixel line that just makes it look less smartphony. It just looks good out of the camera, and if you edit it and add filters on it, you can make it even better. The photos aren't too saturated and the colors are pretty lifelike and neutral. Now, one thing I will knock the Pixel 6 for is the fact that it doesn't have a dedicated telephoto lens like the S22's 3x zoom lens. Now, you still have an option to zoom into 2x, but that's going to crop in from that main 50 megapixel sensor, which isn't terrible, but having a dedicated telephoto lens, in my opinion, is still better. So if you're looking for more flexibility when it comes to taking photos or videos, the S22 is definitely more capable than the Pixel 6. Now, when it comes to low light photography, night sight on the Pixel 6 versus night mode on the S22, it's literally a night and day difference. I think the Pixel's night sight is a lot cleaner with less noticeable noise or grain in the shadows, plus the photos look less muddy and the white balance seems to be a lot better, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, the S22 still takes great photos, but if you're comparing it directly to a Pixel 6, I don't know, I'll pick the Pixel 6 any day. Now, in terms of shooting videos, I think this is where Samsung and the S22 really shines compared to the Pixel 6. One, you can shoot 8K at 24 frames per second, which honestly isn't that necessary on a phone. It's more of a flex at this point since you can only really use the main sensor. But the S22 can also shoot 4K 60 frames per second using all three focal lengths, so you can film in ultra wide and the 3x zoom lens. Now, the Pixel 6 can only shoot 4K 60 using the main camera, and you have the option to zoom in digitally to 2x. And the only way to shoot 60 frames per second using the ultra wide camera on the Pixel 6 is if you lower the resolution from 4K to 1080p, which is honestly more than enough for everyday normal consumers. And so to wrap it all up, I want to conclude this video with pricing. If you're in the market for a new smartphone, I think the buying decision actually comes down to its price. The S22 retails for $799, whereas the Pixel 6 retails for $599. Now, that's a $200 difference that could sway most people to buying the Pixel 6, but like I said in my S22 video, Samsung's trade-in program is actually pretty good. And as an example, if you trade in an S20 right now, it can drop the price down to just $350. Trading in that same phone on Google's website only brings down the price of the Pixel 6 to $435. And even then, if you opt in to get a 256 gig S22 from Samsung, you're still paying under $435 and you just doubled your storage. Ultimately, it's up to you. Do you want a phone that's smaller in size, perfect for one-handed usage with decent speakers and a good set of cameras? Or do you want a phone with really good speakers with a more vanilla, almost iOS software and a great set of cameras? There are definitely trade-offs here and it's a tough decision for sure. Personally, I love the S22's form factor and its flat size, but since I care more about camera quality, I'm gonna have to go with the Pixel 6 here. Anyways, I hope you all enjoy the first of many versus videos on this channel, and if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because we're trying to get to 50K by the end of the year, and I think that we can do it before then, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.